Hey everybody, and welcome to Cookie Adventures with Katie, season 2.5. Let's get healthy. We're gonna have another chat today. I think I might do a once a week chat. Seems to work well. Today we're gonna talk about carbohydrates, since that is something that I'm trying to avoid, particularly the bad carbs. So I have my notebook, and that's the tail end of one, but like for those of you that know me, I'm doing like front and back of pages, and that's unheard of for me. So, but it helps that these are real thick pages, and I can write something and not see through it. Like I have recipes that work, successful recipes, and you don't really see it on the back, so that helps too. This is ideal paper, it's good and thick. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about carbs, but I've got my tea because I'm fasting today, and I mean I've gotten to where I drink tea generally all the time now. Green tea in particular. David was so kind as to make me chilled green tea at home, so he put a couple packs in the thing. He's like, well, let's get rid of this tea first before we use your loose leaf. So he put a couple packs in a pitcher, and that's super nice for him. What are carbs? Well, carbs are sugars, starches, and fibers that are found in fruits, grains, vegetables, and milk. So carbs are found in fruits, carbs are found in grains, and vegetables and milks. Grains are a duh, but they're sugars, starches, and the fibers. Carbohydrates are classified as either simple or refined carbs, or complex or whole carbs. Simple carbs contain one or two sugars, such as fructose and galactose, that are the monosaccharides or the one sugar, or disaccharides like sucrose, lactose, and maltose. These simple carbohydrates, these simple sugars, are found in candy and soda. So when I was a kid growing up, I remember seeing a commercial that was fructose, galactose, sucrose. It's all sugar. So if it says gross, or if it says rose, then it's gross. So that's a way that I remember that. Fructose, sugar. Galactose, sugar, because it's gross. Fructose is gross. But that was just when I was a kid. That was the beginning of stay away from sugar, it's bad for you. Or don't get cavities. But your complex carbs contain 3 or more sugars, like polysaccharides, or that they are called polysaccharides, and they are found in starchy foods like beans, peas, and potatoes. Simple carbs cause a burst of energy, and much more quickly than complex carbs. And simple carbs lead to spikes in blood sugar levels, and are considered high on the what's it, glucose index something. I wrote down a little bit. We're gonna get into that. It's all gonna be gotten into eventually. On the glycemic index, there we go. Simple sugars are high on the glycemic index, which means it spikes your blood sugar levels, and complex carbs offer a more sustainable energy. They're lower on the glycemic index, and all in all are better for you. Studies show that replacing saturated fat with simple carbs is associated with an increased risk of heart disease and type 2 diabetes. So saturated fat is actually good for you. They tell you otherwise. They say saturated fat leads to an increase of heart disease and cardiovascular disease and coronary heart disease and blah 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 blah. No, actually no. Saturated fat is necessary, and we'll get into that in next week's episode. And there might even be a 2-parter on fat, because I wrote down a lot more stuff about polyunsaturated fats than I thought was going to be there. I thought it was all going to be about trans fats and how they're bad, but no, there's a bit more into polyunsaturated than you'd think. But anyway, so if you replace your saturated fat with your simple carbs, it's associated with an increase of heart disease and type 2 diabetes. Now, so what do carbs do to your body? Well, carbs break down into smaller units of sugar, such as glucose and fructose, and your small intestines absorbs the glucose and fructose into your bloodstream and travel to the liver. Now, the liver converts everything into glucose, and with insulin is carried through the bloodstream, being converted into energy. Now, if the glucose is not immediately needed, the body can store up to 2,000 calories of it into your liver and muscles in the form of glycogen. I've heard some people refer to glycogen as gluten, but I haven't quite looked into that yet, not quite that far. So I'm going to call it glycogen because that's what I found it. And once glycogen stores are full, carbs are then stored as fat. So you eat something. You eat a cookie. All right, because cookies are high in simple sugars and simple carbs. It is broken apart super fast and converted into energy. But your blood sugar spikes. It also increases your insulin that is going around your body, which lowers your insulin resistance, which is bad, and it's converted into sugar and runs around your body. So say you eat, I don't know, 10 Oreos, but you're not doing anything. So once your body absorbs like, I don't know, 8 of those Oreos, then the last 2 Oreos will be converted into glycogen and will be stored in your liver and your muscles. But let's say you haven't been exercising, so your liver, which stores 70 or 30, but it's one or the other. So your liver stores like 70% of your glycogen, and your muscles store the other 30%, or vice versa, one of the two. I not quite remember off the top of my head, but your liver's full, so it sends it to your muscles, but your muscles are like, no vacancy. Well, then it gets stored into visceral fat, which is your stomach fat, and visceral fat is bad and leads to the diseases that is associated with being overweight, like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, blah, 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 blah. So now, if you have insufficient carbohydrate uptake, your body will pull from your fat stores, which is a good thing. If you have insufficient stores, such as you're already really skinny, then your body will pull protein from your muscles. Now, that is a last case scenario, like third world country starvation mode type people, is when it starts to pull from your muscles. Otherwise, if you have the fat cells, it will pull from those first, meaning your stomach. After your stomach, it'll be somewhere between your boobs and ass, and legs is what it will pull from before it does your muscles. So it'll pull from everywhere first before it goes to the essentials. So you want to make sure you have sufficient carbohydrates within your body, but not enough uptake. So you want to get rid of what you want to get rid of and then be done with it. After that, you can just kind of keep everything kind of level. Now, fiber is essential to digestion, and it promotes healthy poops and lowers risks of chronic diseases like CHD, coronary heart disease, and diabetes. I have my little abbreviations. Okay, so fiber is processed differently from your sugars and starches. So remember, carbohydrates, sugar, starch, and fibers. Sugars and starches are processed one way, and fiber is processed a different way. So it is processed differently. Fibers are not absorbed into the small intestines like your starches and sugars are, but instead they go through your small intestines and go into your large intestines, where your large intestines then processes it in a different way, and the fiber is the soluble fiber, to my understanding. I'm writing on fiber stuff right now. I haven't quite gotten to that, but you've got two types of fiber, soluble and insoluble. Soluble, to my understanding right now, is it gets pulled apart and that is converted into hydrogen, carbon dioxide, and your healthy fatty acids. The insoluble fiber goes through to make poop. And good solid poopies are good. Poopies you want, like, okay, so people who look at their dog's poop, and you know what a healthy poop looks like. Light, runny, soft is not good. You want your poops, and stinky is not good. You want your poops to be relatively not stinky, hard, dark colored. Of course, if you're like pooping black, then you might have blood in your poop, and you might want to take that or get that looked at. But generally speaking, dark brown, firm, good poopies, not stinky. So where are carbs found? Well, carbs are found everywhere. You have your good carbs and your bad carbs is what the common thing is. And high and good carbs are foods with complexity. So your complex carbs are good and whole. So you have your whole grains, your fruits, your vegetables, beans and legumes, and the other contain other nutrients, and they process in your body more slowly. So complex carbs are good because they are complex in and of themselves, and it takes your body a minute to get through them. Now your bad carbs are full of refined sugars like corn syrup, white sugar, honey, and fruit juices. They are high in refined grains like white flour, and are low in nutrients and fiber. So bad carbs are low nutrients, low fiber, and are simple. Think like a simple person, versus like a more complex person. You've got your people that are like, I like makeup, and they're perfectly fine. And then you got your other people that are like, let's talk about space and life and blah. Type that. Yeah. Anyway, so now in weight loss, we're just gonna move on here. In weight loss, carbs as a whole are blamed for weight gain, but the right kind of carbs can help you lose weight and maintain a healthy weight. The good complex carbs contain fiber, like your whole grains, fruits, vegetables, beans, and legumes. And counting carbs can be more effective than counting calories. So what does counting carbs encompass? Well, your total carbohydrates in a food refer to all three types of carbs: fiber, starches, and sugars. So if you're counting your carbs, you want to look at your total carbohydrates, not the sugar, and then subtract half of fiber if it's over 5 grams. Like, there's little particulars here and there. So say your total carbs are 35 grams, and your the item has 10 grams of fiber, so half of 10 is 5, so 35 minus 5 is 30 carbs total. Now then you have your sugar and your sugar alcohols. Several types of sugars such as sucrose, table sugar, fructose, fruit sugar, and lactose, milk sugar, is either natural in the food or added, but labels don't differentiate between the two. So you have your milk, fruit, and vegetables are the main sources of your natural sugars, and manufacturers typically use sugar alcohols as sweeteners and sugar substitutes because they affect the blood sugar to a lesser extent than starch and sugar. Common alcohols are sorbitol, xylitol, and mannitol, and foods can be sugar-free without being carb-free, so be sure to take sugar alcohols into effect when you're counting your carbs. You got fructose is gross, and sorbitol is, I don't know, a tall fellow. So you have your starches. Now your starches make up a large portion of your total carbs consumed, and they're not typically found on your nutrition label. Now remember, starches are a polysaccharide when not refined, and starches are plant-based molecules, and dietary starch is found primarily in plant-based foods. But you want to be aware. Okay, so yeah. polysaccharides are starches when they're not refined. When they are refined, they become simple and aren't quite so good. But you also want to be aware of net carbs. Now, net carbs you'll find like on the front of packaging that'll be like, it only has 2 net carbs. The thing is, the FDA is not required to monitor items on the front of the package, only within the nutritional label. So to calculate your total carbs, taking your sugar alcohols into effect, as some are insoluble, like fiber, only subtract half of the sugar alcohols. So using the 35 total carbs as before, we'll have total carbs is 35. Your fiber is 10, your sugars are 15, and your sugar alcohols are 10. So 10 plus 15 plus 10 is 35. So you have 35 for your total carbs minus half of 10 is 5, and for the fiber, and half of 10 for the sugar alcohols is 5. So 35 minus 10 is 25. That is how many carbs your food item has. But the thing is with the net carbs, is what the companies will do is, instead of subtracting half of the fiber and half of the sugar alcohols, they will subtract all of the fiber and all of the sugar alcohols, as if your body doesn't process any of it, but it does. So what they'll do is they'll take those 35 carbs, or 35 total carbs, subtract all 10 of the fiber and all 10 of the sugar alcohols, and you'll end up with only 15 net carbs as opposed to 25. Now, if you're counting carbs, if you're diabetic, if it's a part of your diet and you have to, that's a big difference. And that can supremely mess up a whole bunch of stuff, especially if your health is involved and you're not just doing it to do it. So, okay, so what can I eat? Well, high fiber carbs are good, such as vegetables, fruits, legumes, and whole grains, and there will be another episode on that, maybe a week or two. And when you're baking, you can substitute flaxseed meal in place of your flour, or like other meals, like sunflower meal, things like that. Seed meals, you can put those in for flour. I don't know if it's exactly 1-1, probably not. But I will get on that because I'm missing my brownies and cookies. So I'll find something, and once I get a recipe good down and is tasty, I'll post it. So now, if it is a whole single ingredient food, it's more than likely a healthy food, no matter the carb level. So vegetables, all of them, you can eat all of them. Fruits, in general, apples, bananas, strawberries, you can eat fruit. Now, there's some that are higher in fiber than others, and I will have a list on that. I'm actually working on that one now. Your legumes, such as your lentils, your kidney beans, peas, are good in carbs. You have your nuts, such as almonds, walnuts, hazelnuts, macadamias, peanuts, chickpeas. Those are all good and high in fiber and also high in healthy fats. Your chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, flax seeds, those are good. Now, in whole grains, you have your steel cut pure oats, quinoa. You can also have wild rice, millet, and buckwheat groats. Those are high in fiber and are still considered grains. The thing is, where was it? Right? No, I didn't. Here it is. When it comes down to it, humans need carbs, but the human requirement for grain is 0. We did not eat grains until we sat down and started agriculture within our societies way back in the day. Before, it was whatever was growing. It was fruits and vegetables that were found, and meat, and that was it. So we don't need grains, we don't need rice, we don't need things like that require extra stuff to go through to get it. Wheat, we don't need that, but it's tasty. And so but wild rice, millet, buckwheat groats, quinoa, and steel cut oats are a good grain source for fiber. And there's also your tubers, such as potatoes, carrots, and sweet potatoes. Those are also high in fiber. Now, white potatoes are higher in starch versus sweet potatoes, and so sweet potatoes are better for you in that respect. And I think they have a little bit higher fiber than potatoes, but I'm not 100%, but we'll get into that. So then what are the differences between refined and unrefined carbohydrates? Now, products made out of refined white flour and sugar usually have much lower fiber and get turned into glucose immediately within our bodies. Now, refined carbohydrates have been processed, and through the processing has been stripped of their natural nutrients, and the product must then be enriched with the vitamin and minerals to replace what has been destroyed. So the processing process destroys the nutrients, and then they're like, oh, let's put this back in. But the thing is, with the enriched flour and things like that, is when they put the supplements back into the flour or whatever it is they're processing, that can actually hurt our bodies more, because our bodies will be like, okay, and and eat it as if it was normal, but then they're like, wait a minute, this is a little bit different after it's too late, so then they have to expend more energy and more nutrients to put the fake nutrients, that the supplements, in their correct order. So, for example, things that say they're high in vitamin E can actually cause a vitamin E deficiency because your body's not pulling it from other sources because it has that fake one. Approximately 80% of fiber is lost when things are processed. And and it varies depending on the product and things. But refined carbs are higher in acidity and are actually linked with bone loss. But all in all, look at the nutrition label, read it, and figure it out exactly what you're looking for. Is there any more? No, that's my next one. So don't look at the front of the box and believe it, because you can look at something and it'll be like 23, or no, it'll be like 2 net carbs, but in actual reality it's like 7 or 10 when you actually do the math. So, and there will be one in the future on how to read a nutrition label properly, but I'm kind of going through the steps. So I'm going to do carbs today, and then next week with Lindsay we'll be doing fats. And I kind of have a little silly idea, so we'll see how that works out. But like I said, fats might end up being a two-parter thing, because I'm like, okay, fats within a diet. Alright, healthy fats. Alright, polyunsaturated fats. Dude. Oh, okay. Well, here's some trans fats, and then here's all the oils and things that are good for us. It's a bit crazy. So, and there's a lot of information, and I wrote really, really tiny. So, with that being said, just with carbs, look for what you're looking for, and you want to focus on fiber. And just remember that when you see something that has your total carbs, all you see are dietary fiber and sugar. Also take into consideration starches and sugar alcohols that are not mentioned typically. So if your total percentage is like 15 grams, but there's no dietary fiber and it's 5 grams of sugar, well, where's that other 10? Probably in starches, or more than likely in starches, but it could also be in the diet or in the sugar alcohols as well. So just take that into consideration, and just think about things. Be one of those people. Look at the nutrition label. It's not the end of the world. People don't stare. I promise. But yeah, so thank you for watching Cooking Adventures with Katie, a talk about carbs, and season 2.5. Happy cooking.